You are listening to It Came From the Radio. This is Jennifer Lee Spellman. I'm here with Terry Rotering. He wrote a lot of books. So I'm just going to give you the synopsis and then we're going to get into it. Now, he wrote The Chronicles. It's a trilogy of trilogies that encompasses angels and demons, black holes, heroic deeds. It's a fantasy, sci-fi, and spiritual warfare epic saga. Here's a synopsis. I didn't write this, so reading. Forget what you know about the boundaries between genres. Terrence L. Rotering's Chronicles series is a monumental saga so vast it required a trilogy of trilogies to contain it. This is an epic that plunges you into the brutal, multi-generational, dynastic, and weaves a prophecy-driven narrative. Then, just as you're grounded in its lore, the saga ignites. It explodes into a high-concept, futuristic vision, challenging the civilization building of Isaac Asimov with sentient AI multi-world grandeur of Dune and connecting its timelines with the dark, reality-bending ambition of Stephen King's The Dark Tower. So, Terry, even though I did a summary, simply put, like, what are these books all about?
Yeah, so you touched on it very well. It's a trilogy of trilogies, but it's also I have a new one coming out. It's going to actually be the fourth set of trilogies, if you will, a fourth book, a fourth volume. And each one, think of them as an egg within an egg. So you've got kind of a family kind of setting in the beginning, more fantasy, and then you have a prelude to it, where or a prequel to it, where you have where did this all come from? Still kind of fantasy, but
Mhm.
then starting to delve into some sci-fi. And then the third one comes
Mhm.
out and just explodes in sci-fi and goes in from one dimension, which was the first six books, into seven dimensions. So it's a lot bigger world, and that's where you really get into the black holes and time dilation and tesseracts and all kinds of crazy things. It all ties together pretty well though, because you got kind of ancient times and then future times, and then this
Right.
last one is kind of the key to the whole thing. It just wraps it all together. What's it all about? It's faith, family, fun, a lot of adventure and a lot of hope. So that's the big thing that differs with this series versus maybe some of the other sci-fi that's out there or
Mhm.
fantasy is it's very positive and hopeful and you have a purpose and there's help and there's answers to the questions. So
Now, you mentioned other dimensions, and I've taken various psychic classes and spiritual classes, and I'm friends with different people. One person from an acting class came to where I used to live, an apartment, and he said that he could astral travel right now, and he started like preparing to astral travel in my living room. So, do you believe that there's different dimensions in the world, or have you had any experience in other dimensions?
I personally haven't had that experience because you'd asked
Hmm.
me, well, take me with you, and that would be fun. But yeah, no, I haven't specifically. But I think the more we find out about this world, and I believe we're finding out about creation stuff all the time, and I think we have a ton more to find out about. But science is revealing things that we never thought we knew before, and every generation has kind of thought, hey, now that we know the world is round, we know everything, and in this day
Right.
of the internet and AI and everything, I think we're starting to think, oh, we know everything, but I think we're finding out we're just scratching the surface. So, yeah, I do believe there's a lot more to find out. To answer your question, I do believe in that, but I haven't had that personal experience myself.
So you haven't astral traveled to other dimensions or
Not
seen
that I remember.
gnomes.
Maybe
Not
I
that
was doing it while I was sleeping or something. Huh?
maybe, maybe. All right. So what inspired these books?
Okay, well, that's we need a lot more time for that because but I'll touch on it very quickly. So at first it was kind of following my life journey. So the first set of books was just to show my boys, hey, you can write books, you can publish books. That's not something beyond your reach. And then after that, the inspiration was just to finish the story, a trilogy. That actually took, I wrote the first couple in 2005, 2010, and then I had a little bout with cancer and I said, God, just give me more time to finish this trilogy. And then it took me 15 years after I was cured. Um, of that to actually finish the trilogy. And then there's been a bunch of, I call them God winks, just crazy things that we don't probably have time to get into, but that have just kind of said, there's more to this story. And I feel like I'm
Hmm.
discovering it as I go. I'm not so much writing it, I'm just a reporter. And I just
Hmm.
have that would be my one kind of thing that kind of gets into what you were asking last question is just kind of
Hmm.
a lot of that stuff's just coming to me. It's not me sitting down trying to figure it out. It's just I take a walk and it's like, whoa. So
Interesting. What
yeah.
are some things that maybe came to you or like a God wink?
Yeah, so one real quick, I'll try to cover it really fast. So while I was doing
Okay.
my third book, Forever, in the first trilogy, The Chronicles of Trinian, I needed one landmass up in the corner that I needed to name, and I didn't know what to name it. So I said, I'll just take the first letter of each of the other landmasses that I had from 2005 and 2010 in the story that were on the map, and I just put
Hmm.
them down, Tophet, and I was like, that sounds good, that sounds kind of cool, and then Tophet, and then
Right.
a couple days later, I looked it up, and real quick, and it was a place where people would sacrifice their children to this demon called
What?
Molech over the fire. Yeah, it was a crazy thing. And then 2 days later, I
Oh,
looked it up and I said, I asked Google, is this a place? And it's came up with, yeah, it's a place in ancient Israel, in the valley of Hinnom where people would sacrifice their children into the fire for a demon. And I was
oh
like,
wow.
every time I tell that story, the hair on the back of my neck stands up because I'm like, there's
Yeah.
no way that I could have planned that 15 years earlier because I was making up all this stuff all along the way. And then 15
Yeah.
years later, I added a landmass, the ET, and then it came up with that name. And I'm like, that's beyond believable. So I don't know.
That's interesting.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
no, I have interesting things that happen. One that's a little annoying is I've told a lot of jokes because I tell jokes all the time. That's just how I am. And sometimes, a lot of times, I tell the joke to the person that it's about. Like, for example, I had a friend who I didn't know one of her children had multiple personality disorder, and I have nothing against anyone who has them, but really simply put, she writes on Instagram, "You're never alone." So I comment jokingly, "Unless you have multiple personality disorder,"
Don't.
joking, joking.
Yeah.
And I never saw this person ever again. He's almost like 50 years old. She goes, "My son has multiple personality disorder." And this has happened so many times where I'll joke about infidelity or I'll joke about losing a finger, and their person will go, I lost a finger.
Yeah.
So,
That's,
sometimes maybe we're picking up on things and it's not coincidence, you know?
yeah. Yeah. That's true. But it's kind of sad that people have that soft of a skin, or I can see that initial reaction, but then to hang on to it and not,
Yeah,
yeah, sad.
I wasn't making fun. And also, this is someone who told me, "Oh my God, I spit my coffee all over the computer. This is so funny." So, like, I'm joking all the time. And it's
Yeah,
not nasty, but
yeah,
I guess that's the risk when you type out anything, because we're in a world where people communicate through typing. And I'm sure I lost at least 5 friends at minimum, or connections where I typed something and it was from a good place, but then it's received as like nasty or something. But,
yeah. And I know in the Air Force we would pride ourselves on always razzing ourselves constantly and on each other.
mm,
So we were used to that, and I imagine maybe you got some of that there too, where you guys just have fun with each other and don't
yeah.
take everything so seriously. So
Yeah, I never take anything too seriously, and that's a problem with some people. Now, back to your book.
sure.
So, there's heroic deeds in the book. Now, are there any heroic deeds that you've witnessed in real life that you can share?
There's been a lot of them as far as flying goes. Because
Okay.
I was, the two jets. I don't know if you can see them up here in the corner, F-111, the F-15E.
Huh?
We used to fly low and fast, 200 feet over the ground at night. Long missions over the mountains, kind of thing, and then some
Wow.
combat time over Iraq. And that, I don't really want to get too specific on that stuff.
Hmm.
There's a lot of guys in the past that have done a lot of heroic deeds and given up a lot. I mean, the service to your country kind of thing.
Hmm.
If you don't give it all, everybody gives something, and the biggest thing they sacrifice is time with their family and such. And one thing that just came to mind when you asked that was just way back in when I was just starting out in the F-111 in England, a guy lost his daughter to cancer, and I just can't help but think about the time that we spend doing other things when we could be spending them with our family. And I wonder how much he really regrets maybe not having more time that he had spent with her. So, I mean, a lot of people will
Yeah.
think of, yeah, the flying deeds and the things in combat and war and stuff that people have given up and the things that they've done as heroic deeds. But I think we just owe all of our service members, especially the ones that are overseas, they're spending a lot of time away from their families. I think that's probably
Right.
a heroic deed in and of itself, just because you only have so much time in your life, and when you give it up
Definitely.
for other people instead of your family, maybe people understand, maybe they don't, but that's heroism in my mind. So
Yeah, no, I think about that almost every day. I had two parents that went through cancer during the pandemic. They still have weird side effects. My dog is 13. So those are like three
yeah,
of my three main family members that, it's like every week there's something scary. So when someone asks me to do something, and when I also ask other people to do something, I know I'm taking their time away from either family if they have families. Some people don't, or anything they want to do. But yeah, for me, when people ask me to do work on set, it's like I hope they realize, which I don't think they do, you're taking time away from family. Like, so
Yeah.
even though there's a price for my work, a monetary price, there's also the price of these are days that I'm not having with my dad or my mom. So
Well, I
like,
think you're way ahead of
please
your
ask.
time. I think you're way ahead of your time, Jenny, because time is our most precious asset, and
Yeah.
people usually don't realize it till they get to be my age or older, but let
Mhm.
alone your age. I mean, so it's great that you've got that, you already got that
Oh
going
yeah.
on up here. So,
Oh no, I think about it every day. People are like, let's go on vacation. I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm not traveling. I might not even travel until my parents passed. Like, I know that sounds crazy, but like, that's
no,
my priority.
no, I
So
lost my
I'll
mom a
travel
couple of
another
years
day.
ago. I lost my mom a
Uh,
couple of years ago, and I think about it every day, feeling bad for some of the things that the times I didn't spend with her what I should have. But yeah.
yeah. Well, that goes to the next question, kind of. Maybe it doesn't. So the books mention angels. Maybe your mom's one of your angels now. I don't know. What are your thoughts on angels?
So, just touching on the books real quick. So it's sci-fi, fantasy, and spiritual warfare. So all of that stuff is throughout the book. So I definitely believe in angels. Whether you believe in the word or not, the word has plenty of references to angels and
Mhm.
how angels watch over us, and we all have our own angel and all that. So that's a much deeper discussion, but absolutely, angels are big time all around us. And just because we can't see things, that goes back to that other question where we're finding out stuff more and more,
Yeah,
things that we can't see, but there are out there. So we shouldn't dismiss angels and demons and all that spiritual aspect of life just because we can't see them with our eyes, because our instruments can see a lot of things our eyes can't, and they can't
right.
see a lot of things that are out there. So,
Any
yep.
any angel stories you don't mind sharing?
Oh, angel stories. I mean, that's interesting. I mean, my mom used to tell about, yeah, when she was a kid, and they'd look over this river or the stream in the back of their property, and they would see
Hmm.
like bears dressed in checkerboard clothing, and only in
Hmm.
the reflection they'd look up and they wouldn't see them, and they all swore, all the kids, there were like 12 kids, they all swore they saw it. So, are those angels? No, I don't think those were angels. But I mean, what do
Hmm.
angels look like? We know, or we think we know what angels would look like because from our imagination and from comic books and things that people have done. But that's like the devil with a pitchfork. Do you really think the devil's running around with a pitchfork? I don't think so. So they could be out there looking like a lot of different things, and things that people
Hmm.
imagine, or these near death experiences. They come back. They have things that they've seen.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, but no, no, I didn't have any specific angel experiences that I know of. Although there have been a number of times that I almost died in car accidents, kind of things, but by an inch, you'd kind of think, and
right,
just being missed, and you go, was something there? Because the odds of that car missing me when I was backing up and it just grazing the bumper, going 60 miles an hour, they were going, what are the odds of that? So yeah,
right. I have a lot of stories, but I'll make this real quick. I wasn't sure, and I went through I would say it's a near death, but you can call it whatever you want. Let's just say I couldn't sleep for 15 days, November 25th to December 9th. I was kind of pushed into taking this stupid IV drip thing that like celebrities and NFL players did. I didn't want to take it. My heart rate was flying for no again, November 25th, December 9th. I maybe slept 30 seconds to 2 minutes. So if you don't sleep for those many days, I think that's 14 days, you go a little
yeah,
crazy. I lost about 12 pounds. I started looking really, really sick. I went to the ER. An FBI agent called me. An ex-military doctor was giving me advice, said, you could die. You got to go to the ER. The ER kind of laughed at me. They couldn't help me. Apparently, I got influenza A, the flu, and it felt like I was overdosing for 14 days. So imagine you feel like you're overdosing. I know what that feels like. I've tried illegal drugs. I know what that feels like. Yeah,
wow,
I also had a fever. And really, to sum it up, I had a woman who owned a wellness center. And she called me and said, "You ever pray to God?" So this was 2023. I've entertained the idea of God, but I'm someone, if I don't have 120 million% proof, I'll say maybe. So I said, I don't know if I've ever said God, I'm not sure. So
yeah,
long story short, I'm fighting for my life. My heart is flying out. I can't sleep. And I'm reading online that people don't sleep for a year. And so I'm thinking, this can't go on for another year. I'm going to die here. I'm going to lose another 10 pounds. I'm going to disappear. So
yeah.
I prayed to every single name ancestor I could come up with. And here's the weird part. My heart rate went down within 30 seconds. This fever broke immediately, maybe seconds. And the weirdest one, my windows were closed and I felt wind all around my head. It felt like birds were flying around my head. So that's a weird
Wow.
story. And I slept well and I fell asleep without setting my alarm. I usually set one or two alarms and I was fine. And I felt amazing the next day and I was perfectly healed within seconds. So
Wow.
I don't know.
So let me
Whatever.
just throw in there in the back of these books, there's a bunch. I have a website, chroniclesoftrinity.com, and on there I've got a blog. And for years I would write every day on there of different experiences I had in my life, flying experiences, all kinds of amazing things. And so if you get a chance, you can look, you can get it on Kindle. You can get stuff for like, these books for like $2. So it's not that
Mm,
big a deal, but all kinds of experiences, a lot of experiences we're not going to be able to get to talk to about God and about all the things we're talking about here. So um, I really recommend that you or whoever's listening get a chance. If you get a chance, look at some of those because it
mm.
really accents what's going on here in the books. The books are one thing; they're largely fiction, but I interweaved a bunch of stuff from my life that isn't fiction. That's kind of amazing too. So if you get a chance.
Well, what do you hope that readers get from these books? Is there something that you want them to gain?
Yeah, so like I was kind of alluding to before, there's, all of the greats in the genres of sci-fi and fantasy have really, they're getting, if you go on, Amazon or Netflix or whatever, they're kind of dark and there's, you can't let your
Mm,
kids watch them until they're,
mm,
teenagers or above and all this stuff. And so they really lack, there's a lot of Eastern mysticism and nihilism and a lot of, hopelessness that's in there. And for my books, what I want people to come away with, and the main reason I wrote them is, so you come away with knowing that you do have purpose and that we are all unique and that someone is looking out for us out there and
mm.
and there are answers to all these questions and it isn't bleak. It's very hopeful. It's very positive. And so that's the biggest thing is really be entertained by them. Each of the
Yeah.
books are standalone by themselves. The trilogies are standalone by themselves, and then all together they're just a massive, awesome story that just keeps expanding your understanding of this whole universe that I've created. But just interweaved within there is just the hope, as opposed to the negative, dark side of what can be fantasy or sci-fi. So.
Yeah, I'm always looking for what can go wrong so that I can prevent it or troubleshoot it. So I definitely am someone that needs to be reminded of hope, I would say, at least weekly, because
Yeah.
I'm always focused on protecting and looking out and being hyper vigilant, and you can get bogged down in worrying about stuff. So it's really good to have that reminder
Yeah,
for
I think if
sure.
you read if you read these, you'll come away with there are no coincidences. A lot of things are happening, and you don't have to be that fearful because things are going to
Hmm,
work out. And I don't want to give too much away, but yeah.
I
So
like that.
God is in these books for sure. If I can share one more real quick thing.
Yeah.
So another one of the God winks kind of things is I would, for the last couple of years, I have a kind of a sleep problem too. I can't sleep more than 2 to 3 hours a night,
Oh,
which, I
wow.
don't know how long that's going to last, but it's going to go on for like 2 years. So I'm up at before 3 o'clock and I always take a picture of my clock at 3:16 and put John in front of it and post it on Facebook. I've done that for years, because
Uh,
John's 3:16 is God loves us and sent his son to save us. But so then when I started doing these books, all these weird things started happening with 316s, like the first one, they're
uh,
self-published. So I had to dig up a piece of gold that I buried in my backyard so no one would get it from me. But when I went to turn it into these people, how much are you gonna give me for this? And they're like, hey, every minute it changes. But right now it's $2,316. I'm like, 316. And then
ouch.
that was the first one. And then, the first lady that reviews it's her review number 316. I'm like, what? And then my church, it's delayed for like 2 years building a new church. It opens up on March 16th. And I'm like, what? And then all of these
Huh.
things, there's like, and I talk about them in the blogs, there's like dozens of them that are all 316s. And I'm like, so either, someone's trying to tell me something to inspire me to write these, or, keep your eyes open to all the amazing things that are happening in our world around us. And don't be so fearful because
Right.
there's just wonderful things happening and just, pay
Right.
attention. So,
Right. Well, speaking of not being fearful, my last question is going to be about demons, but I'll just slip this in
yeah.
real quick. I have a 4-page sleep list, so I'm going to post at least one of these pages under the interview. I have more sleep tips than anyone I know, and one of the tips is eating rice. It's actually proven to help you fall asleep faster and stay
Wow.
asleep longer. Just
Wow.
rice. Yeah,
That's
so that's
cool.
one. That's one. But the last question, because we got like
Okay,
2 minutes left.
sure.
Demons. What are your thoughts on demons?
Demons are real. Like I said, I'm a big believer in the word, and there's no
Hmm.
question demons are real there. And all throughout these books over here, and I don't know if you're going to post a link or whatever, but the
Hmm.
Chronicles of Trinian, they are filled with, you got the angels. I got specific angels out there fighting for us. I got specific demons out there and what they do, and what
Hmm.
they're involved in, and how, and trying to mess us up, fighting too. And that's all mixed in with all of the AI and the aliens and the spaceships and the all that sci-fi stuff, as well as all the fantasy things. So, yeah, demons are absolutely real, and I would never underestimate their power. So,
Wow,
um, yeah,
very
yep,
interesting. Yeah, I didn't really entertain any of this stuff until I saw some really weird things and heard some weird things like 2021 to 2023. I'm like, oh, open my eyes a little bit more. If my
yeah.
eyes open anymore, I'm gonna look like I have goiter. Now,
No.
final thoughts. Could you tell us where to find you and your final thought?
Sure. So go to the website, chroniclesoftrinian.com, all one word.com. And like I said, and you got the first trilogy, The Faithful Stand Forever, the second one, The Promised Time Redeemed, and then the Chronicles of the Seven Wheels. And then look for the last volume, The Chronicles of the Wheelstones, that's coming out this spring. And I think you'll really enjoy them for a lot of reasons, whether you just like sci-fi fantasy or you're into the spiritual warfare thing with demons and angels. It's all there. So it's kind of the unified theory of everything. So I put it all in one big, massive book, about 5,000 pages. You can do a short, one book, or you can do the whole thing and really be rolling. So thank you so
Audio,
much for your time today.
audiobook available?
What's that? Audiobooks?
Audio?
Yeah, so I don't know if almost everybody has Amazon. So through Amazon Kindle, the audio is available. They're not on
Cool.
Audible yet, but they're on
Okay,
Kindle, and the Kindle reads pretty well now. So, and they're
very
very
cool.
cheap. You can get the whole series probably for under $30. So,
Very good, because I have all this to clean behind me. So reading, ever since I don't rent and I'm a homeowner, I need my hands and I'm not a good reader anymore
oh
because I
yeah,
have to do stuff.
yeah.
But I'm always doing stuff, so I'm happy to listen.
Yeah, and you can hear them. You can hear them fast. I mean, as fast as you
Perfect.
want to. So, yeah,
Well, thank you so much, Terry. Really loved having you on, and I'm gonna have to stalk you more because that's what I do. I interview someone maybe if I don't know them, and then I go, "Do I want to know more? Let's find that after
yeah.
the interview." And then I really stalk them. So if you
Well,
got
feel free
stalker
to reach
energy, that's
out.
me.
Feel free to reach out if you have any
Awesome,
questions. So,
awesome, beautiful. Thank you so much for being on. It
thank
came
you.
from the radio. Now back to the studio for more with Mark Torres.